Okay, yes, there we go. My bad.
You are
you have
going
to hit two
live
buttons
right now.
You have to hit two buttons. I forgot. Hello, everybody. We've been talking like we were live for like 2 whole minutes.
Yes, we have been. I tell you what.
I said something about Gran Turismo that I'm not gonna repeat.
I'm glad
now,
no one heard that. We already have too many people who actually do think we're Sony fanboys. I can't have you in here just talking shit about Gran Turismo for no reason.
I love Gran Turismo. It's great. Only normal people who
You
doesn't
guys
want
gonna
to
hear an
fight
echo? I'm sorry. People in chat are gonna hear an echo. Where's my thing? Sorry. All right, Mike. Now, Mike, I need you to talk now so I can hear it.
I'm talking like normal. I'm talking like a guy who talks, and I talk a lot. And when I talk, it's like this, and hopefully I sound okay.
Oh, the loop.
How was that?
Oh, it was better. That was way better than before.
Now we can't hear Jeff, or maybe he's concentrating very intensely on something.
He's like turning knobs around. It's like he has like a NASA computer around. It's like a bunch of lights. It's like
I muted myself. Sorry. Talk now.
I'm still talking more. I'm gonna keep talking. Jeff's gonna listen to me, and I'm afraid he's gonna find out that I like that Boba Fett show. But you know, it's true.
Oh
it's
no!
real.
Don't get excited.
And now he's gonna have to deal with it. He's gonna have to learn to accept it.
I think I did a really good tweet where I saw I was like, I thought Boba Fett was the shed pack.
You thought that was
you like the Boba Fett? You like it though?
Yeah, I do. It's fun. It's fine. What's wrong with it?
It's not very fun.
No.
It's not good.
It's kind of fun. I don't know. He goes around. He's Boba Fett, and he's doing stuff.
Yeah, I guess. Listen.
It's fine.
Boba Fetting around,
Okay. All right. I think Mike sounds pretty good now.
Clumsy ass motherfucker.
Yeah, guys. How do I sound now? Do I sound better than yesterday? We had a little thing there, but now it's good.
It should be good. And then my levels are right there. Let me turn. I could actually even turn you up a little bit. Okay.
You got the layout correct?
Yes, I'm using the correct one. Let's take a look though. Let's take a look. Yeah, Mike's big. We got Big Mikey.
Big Mikey.
Oh, Big Mikey.
His Boba Fett.
You didn't change your camera angle, like you said so.
See, that's just him. He just literally had me too high.
No, Chef was like, I'm gonna change my camera.
I'm going to,
angle,
but I'm gonna do a lot of things, and I haven't started any of them. So, it's a lot of work to move something from here to there. I have to clean up.
Gosh, we're on the precipice of things happening. We got earnings coming in soon, I think, for EA, and then this Club Games thing, and then there's at least one rumor that Nintendo might be announcing some more NES and SNES games for Nintendo Switch Online. I don't know if that's true, but that might happen soon.
My guess here is that EA is probably not going to do anything big to respond during earnings, so we'll probably be okay. But
sure, I agree with that.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me get the Nintendogs.
Can I say something about the Pokemon that nobody's talking about? Everybody compares it with Zelda.
Yes.
With Breath of the Wild. That game looks way better than Pokemon. I don't know why. That's not
visually, yes.
Okay, I mean, there's a lot of other points where that comparison fits, though. Even visually, it does look pretty similar. Yeah. Like, obviously, it doesn't look as good, but it's doing a very similar thing. It's like
it's gorgeous, like Breath of the Wild. I'm like, no, you like Breath of the Wild. It looks way better.
I don't think anybody is saying that Pokemon Legends is gorgeous.
No,
people are saying I saw it on Twitter.
Okay, listen, there are psychopaths on Twitter. Yeah.
I think the overwhelming opinion is that the game doesn't look very good.
Yes, I like the way the characters look for the most part.
I'll tell you what, it doesn't really bother me. I really don't care.
I mean, I don't care.
Let's start the show.
Sorry, I'm
no, you're good. Let me just. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. Next profile. Next profile. Hey!
She is on fire.
Hey, we're trying to create a pleasant audio experience for our listeners. What's wrong with you?
She knows now. Everyone likes it.
Hey, you guys hear me? Start cheering now.
Oh wait, that's the wrong one. Well, we're good.
Let's get this over with.
No, it's not.
Hear me? Start cheering now.
Oh wait, that's the wrong one. Well, we're good. There we go. Okay. We're not actually starting yet. Sorry about that.
Getting ready to woof woof.
I know. I could tell. I heard you take a breath. I'm like, oh, sorry. I was just trying to fix something. Okay. We are ready. I'm gonna do a countdown, and then I'm gonna hit record, and then Mike, it's all you. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. 5, 4, 3.
Hey, you guys hear me? Start cheering now! Yeah, let's get this over with. Yeah.
Woof woof. Hi, I'm Mike Minotti, and I am a Nintendog.
Hi, I'm Jeff Grubb, and I am a Nintendog.
And we are the last of the Nintendogs. Today, we're going to talk about Pokemon Legends Arceus. We're going to discuss the most underrated Nintendo games of all time, and I am going to ask Jeff Grubb how he is doing. Jeff Grubb, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, but the first thing in chat I see is Benji Bob saying, "Did you guys tweet?" And of course, we forgot to tweet.
Yeah, we did. Well, Christian was in here yelling at us, and
yeah, I love when we can blame Christian. Reason. I love when we can blame him
completely unfairly. Yeah,
Nintendogs are live talking about the video games.
Woof woof, Arceus, woof. There we go. We did it. Thank you.
I hope I didn't put a slur in my word there. Yeah, because I just started smashing the keys.
Oh, God.
For video games, and it looks. I mean, if you look closely, it kind of looks like maybe there could be one, but there's not. If you look even closer, there is no slur,
okay,
and I'm very proud of that. Very proud of that.
Sure, good job,
Very
Jeff.
proud. Thank you very much.
You did it. You're a hero. I don't want to throw the word hero around.
Listen, I didn't want to be the one to say it, but I'm glad someone finally did. Like, I'm good. I'm tired. I did catch up on sleep a little bit last night, but it was like a busy day, and Rachel did a great job covering a lot of the news, and then we were able to go and do an emergency podcast to talk about the news. Yeah. And yesterday it was Sony buying Bungie, but there was like other stuff, like Sony announced State of Play. There was Nintendo Switch just getting MLB The Show. I mean, obviously we're going to talk about the news here in a little bit, but
World of Warcraft, like Shadow, like out of nowhere was like, yeah, that cross faction stuff is actually happening. And I just like, what? That's happening? Okay. So that's yeah, a lot happened yesterday, and I was the same. I was very tired. I had to sleep in a little bit today. I was feeling a little cruddy, but I feel better now. I'm ready and I'm good to go. Although it feels like more things are going to be happening at any moment. And to be clear, I'm not saying like another major acquisition, but like,
news is like still going to be newsing here, and like EA is going to be doing their earnings. I mean, I think Sony earnings are overnight, so that'll be a fun show.
The Yacht Club Games Presents, I think, is happening like soonish, probably by the time we're wrapping up.
Right as we're wrapping this up, yeah. So there's a lot to, and you know, if Yacht Club Games announces Shovel Knight 64. I mean, right there, that's the biggest news of the year. So
I agree with that.
So we're right there. We're on the cusp. Wouldn't
it be hilarious if if what they're announcing is that they've been acquired by someone? Oh, God. Man. All right, Jeff, let's get going here. I thought that we would just actually start by talking about Arceus, because I've been playing it a lot. I think you've been playing it too. And my early impression, not even early impressions, I'm like 10 hours into it at this point. I'm pretty high on it, Jeff. I am having a lot of fun. This is very much the Pokemon game I have been wanting since, I think, X and Y was when I was really feeling the drag of the formula. I was like, man, I have been doing this same thing for a long time. And I still had 2 generations of Pokemon games after that were varying degrees of disappointing. And this one is finally like, we can change the formula, like not just a little bit, but significantly. We're doing something, slightly open world. It's just interesting. It's a little less hand-holdy. It's still a little hand-holdy because it's, a Nintendo Pokemon game. But compared to Sun and Moon was the major offensive one in terms of the hand-holdiness. That one was just so obnoxious. This is a lot better than that. Jeff, what are you feeling?
I'm right there with you where, I think this might have just been the Pokemon game that I want/needed. Like, it is clearly still very much being held back in some key ways. Like, it's weird it doesn't have voice acting, and it does look visually pretty bare bones, especially for the environments. I think the characters look pretty good. They're fine. But like even the fights are still not animated. Like they don't actually animate a quick attack. The dude just like kind of like jumps to the side and then there's a little special effect. And that's what they could call a quick attack. But in terms of like its gameplay loop and the reasons you show up to a Pokemon game and kind of playing to its strengths of here's a checklist that you could check off by just doing Pokemon stuff, it is very sticky. Like, I really want to be playing this game more than any other game right now, I think. And I've got some really cool new games that I could be playing. And it's like,
right.
I kind of just want to keep playing Pokemon. And I was not expecting that at all. It's been a long time since I've been into any kind of Pokemon game. I always liked the idea of Pokemon games. It turns out the idea that I was always thinking of in my head was this. It was this game.
Yeah, it's nice just to have it be so much more about, yeah, you're going to catch Pokemon. That's basically the main hook here. And even the objective from the beginning is catch them all. It's not go out and fight 8 gym leaders.
Right.
And go through this kind of, super linear progression kind of a thing. It's catch Pokemon. Catch a lot of the same one. You're going to want to do that even. Just keep catching Pokemon. Do this with the Pokemon. Do that with the Pokemon. Get out there. Catch them. And like there's like a campaign of sorts. And it's used to sort of progress you along and help you unlock more areas. But that's almost secondary to the main gameplay loop. And it really is just kind of a way to ease you into new areas. And they have those kind of fun boss fights that I actually enjoy when you fight the frenzied Pokemon. That actually, in terms of making a Pokemon boss fight that, again, just isn't a gym leader, which I was like so sick of. I'm really, even like the fact that like there aren't really that many like trainer battles. I think that's refreshing. Just so many of those gameplay loops being gone. Even some of the small quality of life things, like how your Pokemon, like he still only has 4 moves. When he learns a new move, it's just like added in a menu and you can just go in whenever and swap them out. You don't have to like permanently delete a move or go talk to some guy in one town to put an old move back in. When a Pokemon's ready to evolve, you just go to the menu and evolve him. He doesn't like automatically start doing it. And if you don't want him to, you have to push a button to cancel it. Just all these small things on top of just this better gameplay loop, this figuring out this open world concept in a way that actually does work and make a lot of sense. I mean, it sounds silly, but it is cool that you can just walk around and throw out your Pokemon and then start the battle right there. There's no like going into this kind of, battle scene. It's just all one thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of little changes that add up to be quite significant. It's for a Pokemon, it feels like a huge leap forward. I think in terms of like if you look at it in the wider scope of like where gaming is at, especially after Breath of the Wild, this mostly still feels like an evolution of stuff, but for Pokemon, it's a departure. And it's a departure just because they're making new choices, and so many of the new choices they're making are what's the best way to serve the fun, what's the best way to make people feel good about what they're doing in Pokemon games, and they're just making the right decisions over and over again. And I'm like you said, super high on it. Me too. I am really high on this game. It's just super playable. It's really easy to recommend too. I think if you have always heard about this Pokemon thing and you want to get into it, this is probably the place. If you are someone who's just like, well, that looks boring, this is probably still not going to win you over. But for like, new kids coming in, and even I would be like, yeah, go play this. This is like going to be the future of Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. I do think it is like that kind of step. We talked before how it seems like they keep remaking the same Pokemon game because it's all about getting that next generation of 8-year-olds. And this seems like something for maybe the 14-year-olds a bit, right? Like people right? So, and I kind of like the idea where maybe they'll keep doing those other Pokemon games, but in between you have this new, like not even a sub-series, this new other mainline series where they keep elaborating on this idea. And I'm sure some of the ideas from this are going to be implemented into the other mainline series too. But I am very curious, like where does the next Pokemon Legends game go? Because as good as this is, it definitely does feel like there's still a lot of room for like some improvements here and there. There could still be a point where we have one large open world instead of all these segmented ones. Some of the presentation stuff, the graphics are great. It really doesn't bother me. I'm not going to pretend that they're like good, but it doesn't really bother me at all. And, at least it's the whole thing is that there's low textures and it's consistent with that at least. And at least the performance, it's not 60 frames per second, but it seems to be a pretty consistent 30 frames per second at least. And again, for like a turn-based action game like this, that's pretty fine. Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's artistically, I think that the characters, the human characters and the Pokemon, of course, all that stuff is still stand out. That stuff actually is legit good. The technical side of things, yeah, you're right. But when I'm playing, I really am focused. I'm looking at the Pokemon. I see the giant, Rapidash on the horizon, and that's the thing that sticks out to me, not the weird mush of a texture of like a pasture texture. That doesn't excuse it, but it does look bad in screenshots, especially. But when I'm playing, I don't notice. I just don't notice.
Yeah, I'm not really thinking about it. You said voice acting. That doesn't bother me at all. I don't even know if I want voice acting.
I see other people say it. At this point, it's weird. At this point, but
is it weird? I mean, especially for Nintendo games, I guess it's maybe it's me excusing them, but I just don't really expect voice acting much in Nintendo games, and I don't really care or want it. Like I don't want voice acted Zelda. I really don't. I don't know. I know we got a little bit of it in Breath of the Wild.
I mean, I thought it was fine in Breath of the Wild. I know some people are like, oh, she sounded weird, but I thought she was fine. But
did she? I thought she sounded fine. I mean, it wouldn't bother me if it was there, but it doesn't really bother me that it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's just, again, maybe it's in context to the wider industry. Like the Sony spending $200 million on their games, and then this game comes along and it feels like still done on the cheap, and it's going to be bigger than any game coming out on PS5 or Xbox this year. So. But you're right. Listen, it's not hurting the experience really. I'm fine with it. I'll read as much as they're going to put in front of me. I guess maybe in the first hour it was a little bit more annoying because it's like, all right, I don't really care about this stuff. I wish you kind of would just tell me the important things so I could just get on with it. Maybe do some voice acting there.
We know how early tutorial
adverse
you are. Yes, exactly. Yes, and I get that, but. Again, compared to some of the other recent Pokemon games, especially compared to Sun and Moon, this was zipping along.
Yeah,
this was lightning fast.
An hour later, you really are just in the game doing the stuff, and the second half of the tutorial where you sort of follow the girl through the field, like that's more open. And I was kind of already doing my own stuff, and it's like, okay, this totally works for me. It's a good game. It's just such a playable thing. Like they really just nailed all the things they really needed to nail to kind of modernize Pokemon. And this is where they're going next, right? They'll probably keep doing like a traditional series alongside this. I think. I mean,
that's what I think. That's what I was saying. But I'll tell you what, if they ever do want to do that Pokemon MMO thing, this certainly is a lot closer to getting you there than what even Sword and Shield was doing, right? I don't think that's happening anytime soon, but someday if they want to. This is the roadmap for that. This is how you could do that because again, it's all one persistent world you're in. You're not cutting back and forth to battles and all this other stuff. So, but yeah, I think it's gonna be really interesting to see what follow-ups to this look like, and there will be follow-ups, Jeff, because it already seems like, and of course, but it seems like this is going to be a giant hit.
Yeah, it seems like it's on pace to be a massive seller. Obviously going to be the number one seller of January, but it came out late January. It could be the number one seller in February. Like it's going to be close. Even with huge games like Horizon coming out and Elden Ring and stuff like that, even not counting digital sales, it's just going to be massive. So yeah, I wonder next year, not this fall, but the fall after that, do they come up with a sequel to this game and it has two versions and it starts to feel more like this is the primary Pokemon going forward?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I guess let's see how this sells compared to Sword and Shield, I guess is the question, huh?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
I think it's going to sell pretty favorably.
I think it's going to sell really, really well. Yes, absolutely.
It's going to do better than the Diamond and Pearl remakes did, and those did like pretty well for games that people seemed kind of down on, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
In general. So, yeah, I think Nintendo's going to be very happy with this. It's easily going to be another 10+ million seller. It could be another 20+ million seller even. Jeff, not a ton of news this week really is for Nintendo, but MLB The Show 22 is coming to Switch. It's going to release with every other platform on April 5th. Jeff, wasn't it just like a week ago on one of our podcasts where somebody asked you if the show was going to come to PC and you said it would come to the Switch first?
Yep. Yeah, I feel like it was just like a week ago. If not, it was like some other podcast like in the last 2 weeks or something like that. But yeah, I guess I'm not too surprised that this happened, but it feels like, oh yeah, right after I said that, here we go, get the Switch version. This is cool. I want to see what it looks like. I guess, I suppose they knew this was happening, so they must have been building the game with this in mind. It's going to have crossplay between Switch and PlayStation and Xbox, right? So
wow.
It's like it's got to be the same exact game overall. So I really want to see what that looks like on handheld. Obviously it's going to be 30 frames, 720p at best. But I want to see what those character models end up looking like.
Yeah, I'm pretty curious because I like this series a lot, and I like that Road to the Show mode where you're basically just like playing, you're playing a full season as a single player, and it'd be fun to play like a game or two in bed. But yeah, I do want to see what that's like. And performance is the issue because this is a game where 60 FPS is kind of important, just because inputs can be so precise, right? Like you're literally, trying to hit a baseball that's coming at you at 90 miles per hour, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I do. I wonder what that'll look like, but it'll be very interesting. And look, I mean, gosh, what was the baseball alternative on the Switch before this? I have no idea. Maybe there was an RBI baseball for Switch, like the new. I think
RBI baseball did come to Switch at some point, but God, what was that other good baseball?
That one that just
game?
got acquired by Microsoft, right?
Yeah,
or everyone kind of forgets.
I think EA actually acquired the other one.
Was it EA? Somebody acquired them.
No, I can't remember the name of it. I actually really like it, but it's not Backyard Baseball, which is the one that came out when I googled it. I'm like, what's it going to look like on Switch? This team has done like tiered versions of MLB The Show before. They were just releasing it on Vita, and it's like,
right.
So they'll have some experience in that zone of like trying to like keep the game in a certain way so that they could scale it down for something else. And now they're doing that again. It's kind of like they're used to this. So I have high hopes, and I agree. Like this will be a really good way to play through something like My Character, My Season mode. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Jeff, we got a bunch of questions here. Why don't we get to them?
Please.
Dr. Sus asks, if Persona 5 did come to the Switch, like many clamor for, what do you expect the sales to be like? Usually JRPGs are not huge sellers, and it is an old game after all. Man, it's so hard to say, Jeff. I feel like it would at least sell another 1 million copies if it came to Switch, right?
I think so, yeah.
I feel like it would at least be worth it.
Yes.
All right. Shin Megami Tensei 5 is doing very well on Switch. I can't remember those numbers exactly, and that's a brand new game, so maybe it's not like a super good comparison. But I don't know exactly. Like, I have to imagine it would be worth it, like for Persona 5 and Persona 4.
I mean, it was worth it when it came to Steam, so it's definitely gonna be worth it when it comes to Switch.
That was 4.
Not 5. Yeah.
Yeah. One Up versus CPU says, any idea what ukulele developer Playtonic is up to? I hope they're making another ukulele 2D platformer because I loved the Impossible Lair. That was so interesting because Playtonic was like founded and they did their big Kickstarter to make their Banjo-Kazooie spiritual successor, which everybody thought was okay. And then they made the Impossible Lair, like the 2D game that was much more sort of inspired by Donkey Kong Country, and everybody liked that one a lot more.
Yeah, but I've never played that one, but I'm like, I guess I should try it. It's it must be. Yeah, people seem to really be happy with their they've been very busy on the publishing side with Playtonic Friends, and they've got that Blossom Tales 2, the Minotaur Prince coming, and Blossom Tales is that is a Zelda like for the Switch and a few other things. But it'll be coming to the Switch and PC in 2022. So I'm looking forward to that. And then they have also Lil Gator Game and Victory Heat Rally. And I don't know what those are, but I'll be looking forward to them. Blossom Tales 2 is especially interesting, though.
I didn't realize that they published Demon Turf. I didn't even notice Tencent got a minority stake in them in November.
Of course they do, yes.
Yeah, I'm sure they're making another ukulele something, honestly, and maybe they'll want to try to give the 3D thing another go now.
I would love to see that because it's like the ideas are all there. They just need to get a little bit more on the execution, and hopefully they're able to figure that out.
Yes.
If you're really interested, go ask Andy at VGC because I think he used to work at Playtonic. So.
Oh. Casual says, in your opinion, where does Mirror of Fate rank in the pantheon of Castlevania games? Is Mirror of Fate the Mercury Steam one that they made for the DS that was like also in that Lords of Shadow franchise, technically? Is that the one?
I was going to say, is that the Mercury Steam one? I don't know. I don't think I've ever actually played it.
No, I remember when we were at BitMob, I think, or was it early Games Beats, we had a coworker who reviewed it and absolutely hated it. I thought it looked very ugly. It'd be interesting now. It looks pretty ugly is what I always remember about it. And it was like kind of a Metroidvania, but sort of not. And again, 3DS. Yeah, this is the one I'm thinking of. Again, I haven't played it. It never looks very good. I don't think anybody particularly has fond memories of it.
There's an HD version that came out somewhere. So, or maybe, so maybe I'll try that one.
Yeah, I think it came like Xbox something or another as an HD version at some point.
Right, that sounds right.
Dr. Suss says, Nintendo recently has bought studios that work on exclusive titles. It seems they are more interested in buying talented teams and IP, like Microsoft. Are there IPs you think could make Nintendo change that trend? I think Nintendo has so many of its own IPs. It's hard to imagine them ever being like, we want to buy so-and-so so that we can own its IP, right? It's like some people are talking about the whole, Bandai Namco thing, and like that's like a rumor that Nintendo will acquire them, more so from like logical thinking than like any actual evidence. But again, it's not because Nintendo wants to like own Pac-Man, right, or anything like that. It's just about like that development team that's worked with them so well in Smash Brothers and other things. So I don't know if there's any IP that Nintendo. I'm sure there's somebody like, oh, that's neat. We would own Mega Man if we bought Capcom, sure, but I don't think they would ever base their decisions off that.
I agree. I think that they are very happy with the IP they've created internally, and they don't need to go spend a lot of money acquiring anyone else's to keep that train rolling.
Velocity Prime says, with the shocking high number of launch day lines for Arceus, do the dogs have any fond memories for specific game launches? Man, we used to do a lot of midnight launches for games, like circa 2007, when that was really a big deal. Like I remember just like all those earlier Call of Duties would always have one, and like the army would actually be there. It was kind of uncomfortable.
Oh my god,
recruiting people. But yeah, the ones I actually remember the most was I didn't even line up for them. There was the two games I was probably the most excited about ever in my life were Kingdom Hearts 2 and Smash Brothers Brawl. Like I just remember like that day, like finally getting the game and like being on the way home with it and holding it, and like I was still like young enough that my emotions were out of whack, so I probably got too excited. Like I was almost like getting ill. I was so happy to finally own Kingdom Hearts 2. Jeff, I'm sure you can relate to that feeling.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like just as much as I want herpes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I will say, like, I almost like, woe is me, but it is weird being a gaming journalist or something. It's like, here's your code for, this game that you were looking forward to forever. Like, you don't even know when it's coming, and all of a sudden you have it. Like, oh, I guess I could just start playing that right now. It's got like sometimes like I don't for a couple days. Like it throws me off almost. It's like weird.
Mm-hmm. I know the feeling. I know what you're describing. No one else does, Mike, but I get it.
You get it, Jeff.
Yeah, I remember like trying to scrounge because I was like poor and like I just like moved back home, and I was like, I'm gonna try to go get Modern Warfare 2. I think it might have been one of those. I don't know. And I just like scrounged money together and was able to get just enough together that midnight and went out to Meijer and was like, oh, do you have any copies left? And they had like a couple copies left and was able to get one, come back home. But I don't know. Before that, I don't know. I'd done that a bunch of times with a bunch of different stuff. It was always cool to do it with systems, and the one time I was able to do that was the Wii. The Wii I got at midnight. Before that one got stolen, I went out and got that at midnight.
I remember I used to have to earlier, like 1996, you just drive to you'd make your parents drive you to every single video game store when a magazine said a game was coming out, because it's the best you got, and a lot of them wouldn't have. I remember Bug for the Sega Saturn. I really wanted Bug, and we had to drive all over the place until finally Software Etc. in the mall happened to have it.
God, yeah. It was a different time.
It was. Winnie says, I've always announced it SNES because we were always referred to the original as NES, and only heard SNES when I started listening to podcasts a couple years ago. What else is the world saying wrong? I say SNES a lot still. I say SNES a lot too now. I think before I listened to podcasts, I only ever said NES and SNES. I almost never say NES, to be honest.
No way. I mean, that's some West Coast bullshit, I think, is where I think a lot of that came from. It's like kids on the West Coast were saying that. I think people in Europe were saying that. But for me and my friends, it was Nintendo and Super Nintendo. And we never said NES. Or we said NES. But I don't think we said Super NES too much. We just said Super Nintendo. We just said that.
Didn't you you would sometimes type it out as Super NES, and I would get mad at you.
Yes, so I changed it to Super Nintendo.
That makes me much happier. Super NES is just wrong.
But like Super NES, I would do that because when you're using an article in front of it, like A Super Nintendo, but if you do A SNES, some people are gonna go A SNES. No, I'm thinking of the other one. NES is the one, because the NES is the problem when you have that's like a E sound.
NES.
And so it's like I want to like spell it out because it's easier when you're writing it.
Hey, just say the NES, then you're fine.
Yes, you're right. But it's I don't know. I like to say Super Nintendo. I think that's actually a better canonical name for it when we're talking about these things.
Nintendo Pro asks, it was stated in a graphic put out by the official Destiny 2 Twitter that Destiny 2 would remain on all current platforms and expand to new platforms. Does this mean we should expect to see Destiny 2 release on the Switch too?
I don't know. I would say probably not. I think what they probably mean there is they're going to be looking at like cloud streaming more and doing some more of that stuff. They've already done that a little bit with Stadia and even with Xbox a little bit, I think. So They're probably going to keep looking at those options, so they're available wherever they could show up. It's a service game. Service games need to be everywhere, so they're going to keep every option open. And if the Switch 2, I mean, like, they're like, Steam Deck is coming out, and Steam Deck's probably going to encourage a lot of people to create a lot of these handheld PCs. And they're like, hey, we want to make sure that we're always on any of these things, no matter like what the brand name is or no matter what the store is on there. And if Switch 2 is powerful enough, maybe they will consider it, but I would say probably not.
I mean, just even if like the Switch is powerful enough, Nintendo's like online stuff is so bad for such a massively online game like that. And I'm sure there's online games supported, but man, it'd be hard. I'm having a really hard time imagining it, Jeff.
Yep.
Delta Prime 84. Not that I think they actually will, but if Nintendo were to make a massive purchase, I feel like Bandai Namco would be the only suitable fit. The two companies have a good working relationship already. Plus, Nintendo will get a toy brand they can use to make more family-friendly stuff outside of video games. Am I crazy, or does this actually make a little bit of sense?
I mean, you're not crazy. It makes sense. I get it. Like, I think the circumstantial evidence is there in terms of like, oh, what makes sense for an acquisition right now for a company like Nintendo? It's probably what makes sense for like Sony, and Sony's done a lot of that. Oh, acquiring the teams we've worked with closely. But I don't know. I mean, if someone starts asking around about Bandai Namco, Nintendo's going to have to really think about it, because they have been making a lot of their games, and they're going to want to make sure that stuff is there. Because if not, Nintendo's going to have to go out and spend a lot of money to either spool up new teams or work with new partners who don't know them as well. It'll be costly. So Nintendo will want to avoid that.
Pablo Cost asks, when is Vampire Survivors hitting the Switch? I watched footage for it the other day, and holy hell, it looks like the perfect 15-minute session game. Perfect fit for the Nintendo console. Jeff, I don't know much about Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, Vampire Survivors is fantastic. It's I talked about it a little bit on this podcast a few weeks ago. It's the one where you just move around on the thing, and it's like Castlevania meets Robotron, or something like that. And there's no attack button. You just move around on the screen, and then you auto attack on cooldowns, basically. And you're getting cooler and cooler weapons, and there's stuff like the axe that goes up in the air and comes down and like goes up north and then falls south. It's really cool. I like it a lot. I want to see how it would translate to the Steam Deck. I'm like, as soon as I get my Steam Deck, I'm going to try that, because I want to see what it looks like on a small screen, because there's so much happening in kind of a tight space, or like a pretty big space. The characters might be very small. It might be hard to read. But if the developer could sort of figure that problem out, it will be very good on Switch. And it's only $3 on Steam. I feel like you could even release Vampire Survivors Deluxe, charge $10 for it on Steam and make a killing, or on Switch and make a killing. So I'm hopeful.
Jeff, we have some mild breaking news here, but Team 17 was the latest one to announce an NFT project, the Meta Worms. Today they have announced that they are ending that. That is not happening. They're the latest person to announce an NFT thing, immediately get shouted down, and then announce that they are not going to do that anymore.
It's the power of the shouting. I mean, I tell people over and over, this is the thing that has the power, everybody. You go out and get angry at a video game company, they're going to listen. They're afraid of it. It's working.
Man, it's pretty fast how quick. I mean, people are going to have to start being discouraged, right? I mean, it was the last earnings we heard, everybody was like, all the people saying, yeah, we're looking at NFTs, blah, blah, blah. It's an exciting space. I mean,
and gamers like, what the fuck did you just say? Yeah. Fuck around and find out is the response. And they found out. Everyone's finding out. And you're right. These next earning calls are going to be very curious to see if anyone mentions NFTs this time.
I wonder, the only person hasn't like backed down or apologized, I feel like, with Square Enix after that weird New Year's thing, right? Yeah. So I wonder what
he was drunk or hungover or something.
He was drunk. He's like, I'm writing a letter. Publish this to who? Everyone. Okay.
All right. God, fucking asshole.
T-Peaks 15 says, if some timelines were shifted and it were the 2014-2016 struggling Wii U era, Nintendo happening within this flurry of acquisitions by big gaming companies right now, do you think Nintendo's name would be coming up more frequently as a company that might be bought rather than the narrative at the time, which was Nintendo may eventually go third party if the Switch ended up being another failure? Yeah, that's right. That's what everyone says. Oh, they'll go third party. They'll go third party. Yep. Today it would be, they would be acquired.
Yeah. I mean, this is not a bad point. The name would definitely come up more often. The calls would probably be more frequent. I still think Nintendo would be very defiant. I think investors in Nintendo would still be pretty defiant, but I mean, the leadership in Nintendo would not be welcoming to this. It would have to be a hostile takeover, even at that point. And they were proven right in the end. They're super profitable. So yeah.
Lower Legend says, numbers came out this morning that Pokemon Legends Arceus has outsold Animal Crossing New Horizons in the UK for its first week.
Christ.
Having said that, how much do you expect Arceus to have sold by the end of the year? I mean, maybe this is crazy. 20 million. It could.
Yeah.
It could.
Yeah, by the end of the year, 20 million seems very possible. I mean, in its lifetime, if it takes like 2 years to get a sequel to this game, I mean, 30 million's on the table for this thing. In a couple of years, 30 million seems totally possible. It seems like the kind of game that is going to, I mean, listen, I don't know what the long game's going to be like. I don't know what the end game's going to be like. I haven't played it. I haven't seen a lot of response to that. People are just sort of on the launch rush right now.
Sure.
But if it's like capable of producing like long-term content, it's going to be the kind of thing that people are going to get into and stay into for a long time, I think. So, yeah, this game really has the chance to just be the next 30 million seller from on the Switch.
Jeff, I think we have some super chats. Why don't we read those, and then we'll get into our topic, which is most underrated Nintendo game. So, do you want to read some of those for us?
Yes, I do. I do indeed. Let me see here. Let me scroll back to the first one. This one's from Uriel Delgado. So, does Ubisoft have to legally finish and ship Skull and Bones because they because they took money from Taiwanese government? If true, that's funny. I mean, that seems to be the deal that they made, and that's why that game hasn't been canceled yet, is what it seems like. Whether or not they actually will end up shipping anything is still up in the air. They might try to weasel out of it. They might have to just give the money back or something like that, but they do seem to be on the line to ship that game at some point, so pretty wild. Uriel Delgado followed up, like, accepted money Fatal Frame sales numbers at 340,000. Are these bad numbers for a remaster? Do you think they'd be higher if they had remastered the OG game? And I think he was correcting his last name, then saying Fatal Frame sales numbers are at 340,000. That's pretty good. It's not bad numbers. It's not as good as it could be, but it's pretty low for sort of any game. I feel like I do think they would be higher if they would like give that series a little bit more attention, because it feels like a horror franchise should be doing better than that right now. From Afro Ahmed, most to least likely at the next Direct: Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, Alan Wake Remaster, a date for Wind Waker / Twilight Princess, a date for Shredder's Revenge. Yeah.
I feel like the Pixel remasters are most likely.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. And then I think Wind Waker Twilight Princess is second most likely. And then a date for Shredder's Revenge is like kind of right there in that same range, but probably number 3. And then Alan Wake Remaster seems like, well, I guess an Alan Wake Remaster could show up on Switch.
I mean, none of these are particularly unlikely.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's the order I would go with.
But none of them are either. They're also not slam dunk guarantees either.
From Old Taco. Random shout out to the Wii U Pro controller for symmetrical thumbsticks being on the top. Yeah, that's fair. If that's your perversion, I get that.
If that's your perversion, yeah. I've always said my superpower is just adapting to any weird controller thing for them. Like it's fine as long as they don't do something weird like the Steam Deck where they just try to like change things. Like we have this weird touchpad thing, and I don't like it. I'm usually pretty good with whatever controller you give me.
In chat, Goat Status says EA just made a shit ton of money, and yeah, they not too surprised.
Yeah, they released their earnings. Quarter 3 was the largest quarter in the company's history for net bookings, underlying profitability, and cash generations. What's interesting is that you look at their highlights. I mean, Battlefield's not even mentioned, so it seems like Battlefield probably didn't even do that well, and it didn't matter. They still did really well. Apex Legends. Quarter active players are up more than 30% year over year.
You know what commercial I see? So I got YouTube TV to watch like sports and stuff, and I was watching a lot of football, watching a lot of sports, and I don't see many commercials for Battlefield 2042 because that game's come and gone. You know what commercials I do see? Apex Legends a lot. They are invested in that game. It must be growing very fast for them.
Yes, I think so.
Anything else you want to mention from EA, or should I get back to these super chats?
No, that's all I can really say. I think they made a lot of money.
They made a lot of money
there. Yep.
Alexander Dark 91. I believe the next 12 months will define EA's future. Either they acquire someone or get acquired. What do you think makes the most sense for EA to buy? My pick would be Embracer Group. That would be pretty huge. I mean, I guess it makes some sense, but Embracer is a behemoth, like this unwieldy thing that I don't know if it makes sense for anyone to acquire Embracer because it's like 200 teams spread all across the. I mean, maybe. Right. I don't know. I feel like EA's path forward is a merger. Maybe you merge with Take-Two, something like that. That way, you bring all the sports games into one place, and that enables you to like capitalize on the growth of all the sports games. This is not something I think is good for the industry necessarily. That kind of merger act would be kind of, but I think a merger is probably more likely their way out. But I don't know. Who knows? From Isaac Spencer, heart. We thank you so much for that, Isaac Spencer. Mike, why don't you throw him a heart?
There you go. Yeah, they're rare these days, but you'll get one. Here you go.
You get one, Isaac Spencer. We appreciate that. You got one. And then Jared Helder caps it off here. I like gibberish voice acting, like in Pikmin, because you get intonation and it sounds okay when you skip forward. Could Pokemon / Zelda do this? I think Zelda's too ingrained at this point for what it is to do that. But like you get a lot of like voice. What's the term when like you have vocalization, like that sort of thing. When Link is about to talk, he might go, huh? And they do a lot of that, and that sort of like does it for me. The thing about Pokemon that actually kind of triggered me a little bit was they were clearly doing a reference to Zelda when it was when they were teaching you to dodge roll, and the dodge roll like, okay, we're gonna do a dodge roll, and then instead of going hup like Link does, it was just a text box that said hup, HUPPP, and I'm like, okay, what the hell? Like it does, the reference doesn't work if you have to actually like literally spell it out instead of just making the noise. But then he does go and make the noise, so I'm like, okay, this isn't that big of a deal. But yeah, I'm like, it triggered me a little bit. I think I got all the super chats, Mike. I think we're all caught up. Should we get to?
Just came in.
Okay.
Actually.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Adhem.
From Autumn Zero. Thank you. Hey Arby's brothers. I see some misinformed people say Microsoft can't buy a Japanese company due to regulations in Japan. How accurate is that, and why would Microsoft be interested in Nintendo years ago? So listen, you can figure it out. It is a little bit more difficult, but those rules have been made more lax in the last year and a half to 2 years. And it doesn't mean it's easy now, but it's definitely more possible now than it was before. And it was possible before too. It would just like you got to get a lot of approvals. It would require probably a lot of time and stuff like that. And I think it's probably one of the reasons it hasn't happened much yet. But they could definitely try to figure that out. I think some Chinese companies have already begun making acquisitions in Japan, showing that it's possible for a foreign entity to come in and do that. So yeah, I would not take anything off the table at all. From Jess Martinez, anyone ever say that Grubb looks like Momoa? Yeah, we get that every once in a while.
Momoa.
Yeah, from what's Mimosa? I look like Momoa if he drank too many mimosas, is what it is. There you go. Yeah. Mike, I think we are caught up now. Thank you, Jess.
I actually have a couple more questions from the community that slipped past me here, so let me get these out. Anderson64 says, should folks who like playing third-party stuff on Switch be concerned with all the IP gobbling by Microsoft and Sony? I mean, gosh, the only things I think that so far you might be missing out on in the future is like maybe Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4, if those were ever going to come to the Switch or Switch 2, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, part of me is just like, I don't know. I won't even completely take off the possibility of those coming to Switch like years down the line, like they always have, where it's like, oh, years later they do just somehow pop up on Switch. But I guess maybe not unless it has Game Pass or something. So this is, I mean, it's a little bit of an issue, but people buy Switch for Nintendo games, and these days they buy them for Nintendo games and a place to play indies. That's not going to change, and so most people are going to be fine. If it was your home to play like The Witcher, well, yeah, you get The Witcher will probably still come. It'll be a bad port, but yeah, you'll still get Witcher 4. So yeah,
maybe you'll get more cloud games like the amazing job they did in the Kingdom Hearts cloud versions.
Are those bad?
They're bad. Yeah, they're bad.
That's weird because other cloud games have been pretty okay, but
some have been okay. Like I don't know, but none of them. I think I would hate all of them, but the Kingdom Hearts one seemed especially bad.
Fair enough.
Benji Bob says, which platform mascot should Nintendo try to acquire? Jeff, I think that Gex is the right answer here. They can get Crystal Dynamics, right? That'll be the big surprise. But Nintendo wants Crystal Dynamics for some. What's Bob's going to be a Nintendo character?
Dana Gold did the voice of Gex, right? Is that do I have the right character?
I mean, if you say so.
So yeah, you bring back Dana Gold, you just go for it. Man, yeah, I would like that. I want to see Nintendo go back to the N64 and get all the platformers from there. So Glover, I guess Buck Bumble doesn't really. It was that a platformer kinda.
I mean, sure. I don't know if he was ever anyone's mascot. They should get Bonk. Actually, that's
Bonk,
the real
okay,
answer.
fair enough. Yeah.
Get Bonk from whoever owns Bonk now. I have no idea who.
Yes, SNK still a thing. I don't know.
Gex 316. I remember that ad. That ad ruled booty. Gex 316. I'm gonna play like Gex 2 someday just to see how that has aged, because I'm sure it's aged a lot, but maybe in fun ways. Right?
Yeah, you'll probably be like, man, this is some of Dana Gold's best work.
This is some of his best work, whoever that guy is. All right, Jeff, what do you think is the most underrated Nintendo game of all the times?
Yes, I believe that the most underrated Nintendo game is Rusty's Real Deal Baseball for the 3DS. This is a game that is surprisingly good. It's a bunch of mini games based on baseball where you're swinging the bat, you're pitching, you're doing all kinds of things, and it's like it gets harder, and all that stuff is really solid. Like all the interactions between the bat and the balls are very good. But also there's this game where you could download Rusty's Real Deal Baseball for free, and if you have conversations with Rusty about his family and all this stuff, he'll like actively lower the price you have to pay on the eShop to unlock the rest of the game. And so it's this really weird. It's this really weird like take on like mental manipulation where Nintendo's like, we probably were always going to charge the lowest price that you could get in this game for this game, but now we're going to make you feel like not only is it a good deal because it's like you talk this dog down from a higher price, but like you're emotionally invested because you did all this work to talk this dog down to a lower price, so you end up like buying it. I don't know how well it worked, but it's like this really interesting social experiment, and then on top of that, it's a solid baseball mini game collection, and I really like. I go back to play it all the time. It's great.
You said Rusty. I thought you first meant like wasn't there a game on the 3DS called like Rusty's Western Rollout or something like that? It was like,
was it Rusty? Was that the name of the armadillo?
It might not be, but there's something like that, and it was like this random. They made a new IP, and there's 2 games, and like some people liked it okay, and that's all there ever was with those.
I know the game you're talking about. I can't remember the exact name of it though, but no, that's not the one. That's probably also underrated though.
Yeah, I've heard some people say they like it, but I think it was because it was downloadable only, and a lot of people just missed it. Yeah. So gosh, like there's a few ones here.
Dylan's Rolling Western.
Dylan's Rolling Western. That's what I was thinking about. Okay. Yeah, gosh. I feel like Donkey Kong 94 for the Game Boy still might be my favorite answer, just because that game is so good, and some people seem to appreciate it. Some people just don't know it exists. I was tweeting about playing it not too long ago and how much I was enjoying it, and I had more than one person just think that I mistyped Donkey Kong 64. They're like, what's Donkey Kong 94, you crazy asshole? You know? It's like, no, it's the best game for the Game Boy is what it is. You should look at that. You should appreciate it. Not Donkey Kong 64, for the love of God.
No, so don't. That's like, most people don't like Donkey Kong 64, and it's still overrated.
It's still overrated.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's my answer. There's some good ones here that I think our community said, and we'll talk about some more of those.
That's a good answer, because that game, no matter what, because it didn't get its respect at the time, like even if people go back to it now, it's still underrated because it needed more respect then to really make it blow up.
Right, and it kind of morphed into the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series, which at first was like a true sequel, just kind of uglier, but it was still fun. And then it just became Lemmings as they went further and further with it, and kind of got. And they made a bizarre amount of them for what that concept was, so it got really kind of shallow and overshadowed. But yeah, so we're going to talk about the answers we got from our Patreon community and our Discord community. But if you are in our chat right now on YouTube and you want to tell us what you think the most underrated Nintendo game is, you can be like Ariel Delgado there and send in a super chat, and we will read those in a bit here.
Absolutely.
So let's get to this. Velocity Prime says, I'm going to say it. Breath of the Wild is now underrated because people keep trying to hot take it. People who complain about the empty world probably give 1-star Yelp reviews to national parks. Actual answer is Pikmin 3. Looks amazing, has real tactical depth, and a fun multiplayer mode.
That is a good answer. That is a good answer because Pikmin 3, especially with Pikmin 3 Deluxe now, they nailed it. They turned it is one of those games where it's like I pick it up and I can't put it down anymore. And Pikmin before that was always really good, but it was like one where I'm like, okay, I got to get myself like amped up for another session. Like, this is still a good game. Once I start playing, I enjoy it. Yeah, sure. But with Pikmin 3 Deluxe, I just could not stop playing. I just wanted to start it over again as soon as I finished it, which is a rare thing. It is a fantastic game, and it mostly is overlooked. So I think this is a great answer.
Yeah, I think that one. I still need to play Pikmin 3 Deluxe at some point here. Yep. It's a big shame on my life. Pablo Cost says, most underrated Nintendo game? My immediate answer is Astral Chain. It's a fantastic action game with a good storyline, banging soundtrack, and it has tons of replay value, especially if you're a perfectionist. Not enough buzz for that game, in my opinion. I was enjoying Astral Chain. It was just a little too talky for me. I was enjoying the action, but there was way too many cutscenes and too much dialogue for what that was. I thought I wanted to go more.
Yeah, it looks like some fun weeb shit. I don't know.
It was a bit, yeah, like it was fun. Then the weeb shit kind of knocked it down for me.
Sure, that happens. Yeah.
Nick Turbo says my most underrated gets too much flack Nintendo game is Mario Party 9. I actually enjoyed the car and felt it gave more strategy of how you take your turns. I did not like the car in Mario Party 9, Jeff. I don't know.
That's the one where everyone's in the car together, right?
Yeah, right. So it's like you're all moving. I didn't like it at all. I actually just was playing Mario Party Superstar with some friends over the weekend.
That's
we had a good time with that.
That's a good game.
Yeah, I mean the whole point. I don't know. It's a board game, so everyone moves around the board separately. I don't know how you messed that up. I don't know. Dr. Sus says my most underrated Nintendo game is Cadence of Hyrule. It gets no credit as being a great Zelda game. Even though it has a totally different playstyle, it still feels like Zelda, and the music is absolute fire. Jeff, it is a shame how quick this kind of got forgotten. It was this weird, awesome idea. We're letting this small developer make a Nintendo game with a Nintendo license in the style of their indie hit, and it was really good and a lot of fun, and it seemed like it didn't make that much of a splash, and it's not something Nintendo is doing again.
Yeah, it definitely should have been like the beginning of something, and it just felt like this weird anomaly instead. But that soundtrack is GOAT. Like it is up there. Like one of the best things you could ever listen to is that Cadence of Hyrule soundtrack. Those remixes by Danny B are so good. So at least check it out for that, and the game is fun too.
B Papa says my most underrated Nintendo game isn't so much a single game as a series, and that's the Ken Griffey Jr. games on SNES and Nintendo 64. These were really fun. Some had real licenses, and they all balanced arcade style and realism quite well. You never see these in any best of lists, and I think they warrant consideration. I remember Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball for SNES being a big deal at the time.
Yeah,
we all had it.
It's one of those ones that I rented a lot and really enjoyed it. It was a really good one. A lot of those Nintendo sports games were very good. I remember the Kobe Bryant games were also very good. I'm going to go help my kid open something. I'll be like 10 seconds. If you want to read the next one, I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah. Gosh, Ken Griffey Jr. I want to go back and play that now because they had the team licenses, but not the player licenses. At least the one on Super Nintendo I remember. So you could still go in and pretty easily like put in all those names and all that stuff. It was certainly the best Super Nintendo baseball game I can remember. Imagine if Nintendo just made a baseball game again, right? Again, now they're getting the show. They don't need to worry about that so much. Gosh, now I want to go back and play Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball because
that's a good one.
It's been so long, but I remember it well. One Up versus CPU says Super Mario Bros. 2: The Lost Levels. This game is basically what I hoped the Mario Maker community would do instead of musical Rube Goldberg machines. It has really interesting level designs and is super challenging. I'm surprised it doesn't get as much love as other challenging old school games like Ninja Gaiden and Ghosts and Goblins. I mean, part of that's just because we didn't get it for a while. I'm not a giant Lost Levels fan myself, Jeff. I forget where you stand on that.
Lost Levels, I'm kind of I think it's a really good troll for Nintendo because it's like such a miserable thing to play that it's so much fun to like watch someone else play, or like to like sit your friend down and be like, okay, we're gonna play Mario, and the first time they jump over the pole and like don't understand what's happening, like that stuff is really it's interesting because it's mean as a game, and it doesn't really work anymore. You can't really make games that are that mean anymore, so I'm glad it happened. But for the most part, I'm just like, yeah. I wouldn't recommend anyone go and play it, have a good time.
Skittiddle says, my most underrated Nintendo game is Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey for the Nintendo 64. It was one of the first 3D hockey games out, and boy, was it a banger. Fun fact, it was the first Nintendo 64 game to support 4 players. It holds a dear place in my heart because it also is one of the last hockey games to feature my hometown team, the Hartford Whalers. Oh, I don't think I ever played this one, Jeff. I have to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely played it a lot. It's a really fun one. It was really fast for being kind of an early N64 game. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I liked it a lot. That was like a midway game. I was like, okay, yeah, they were doing a lot of the sports games, and that was a good one.
Alex says, my most underrated would be Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, My Life as a King. It was an extremely basic city builder where you would play as the king of an empty city and need to reclaim the area from a dark lord. The gameplay revolves entirely around improving the lives of your citizens and adventurers with different amenities. It's one of my favorite Wii games ever, and I would love to see Square Enix make another, as I've never played another game quite like it. Yeah, I remember people liked that game quite a bit. It's funny because it seems like people only ever talk about the original Crystal Chronicles, which had that disappointing remaster not too long ago. But it had a lot of spin-offs that I remember people liking at the time that never get talked about. There was like DS and 3DS sequels, basically, that I remember like people received really well. There was one of those that at least somewhere it got like a 10 or something. Like people were really high on it. And again, no one talks about it anymore.
Yeah.
VJ Incoming says, my most underrated Nintendo game is Sushi Striker. Remember that weird-ass sushi puzzle game that released as a full-price retail for some reason during E3 week in 2018 and was immediately overshadowed by Octopath Traveler, Captain Toad, Mario Tennis Aces, and Minecraft all just weeks later? It was a great game. Addictive, clever, and unique puzzle gameplay, fully animated and voiced anime-style story mode. He put that in caps, I think, as throwing some shade on Pokemon. And a real banger of an opening theme. That game deserved way more, but Nintendo certainly didn't do it any favors. See, I remember people really liked this when it came out.
Me too. I never touched it.
Yeah, got overshadowed.
Yeah.
Jayton says,
I'll play it.
Most underrated game, nobody talks about Rhythm Heaven. Rhythm Heaven Megamix was such a good game on 3DS that I wish more people played. Fingers crossed for a Switch port. Yeah, that's true. Gosh, one of the other ones I was thinking about, and like maybe the right answer is Elite Beat Agents. And it feels weird to call it underrated because the people who do like it, like us, really like it, right?
Yeah.
Like they won't shut up about it, but like that should have been a series, and it was just one game.
I remember on One Up Yours, like Luke Smith, who is the director of Destiny now, talking about how he was like walking past Shane Bettenhouse's desk, and Shane works at Sony now, and he's like, he overheard Shane saying to himself, saying, "I think this is game of the year." And so it always stuck with me, like how, like even then people were like, "This is one of the best games of the year." So that's why I would have a hard time with that. But Rhythm Heaven, I feel, has got its due more recently, but it's definitely in a low point at the moment. So I get this.
Yeah. Lossian says, hope you guys are well. I am. I don't know if it counts, but most underrated game is Mario is Missing. Yes, it's not a traditional game, but fun. I mean, I had Mario is Missing, and I didn't hate it back as a kid. I never really quite understood it or got
I never understood it. No.
There was something. I also remember I had a friend who like had the CD-ROM version of it with like the voice acting and the cartoon, and that was real weird to see. Like that really threw me.
Kind of felt like a fever dream a little bit, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that was bizarre. Jamie H1224 says, my underrated game choice was originally Space Station Silicon Valley, but after some thought, I decided to change it to No More Heroes 3, mainly because it's playable on Switch and needs more love. Look past the open world frame rate, the humor, gameplay, and not see other games and media is what made me write it in to the GameSpeak Game of the Year as my personal pick. Gaming needs the Suda51s to succeed just as much as the Guerrillas, Insomniacs, and 343s. Jeff, me and you've just never gotten into No More Heroes, and I'll be honest, I really don't think I'm going to anytime soon.
Yeah, I think No More Heroes 3 was its best opportunity, and I'm like, it's fine, but it's not for me.
Creaky Lake says, the most underrated Nintendo game I can think of would probably be in more recent times with the Switch, so I'd personally say Splatoon 2. It has great levels, the multiplayer is so jolly that I never feel frustrated playing it, and the items you can customize your Inkling with are actually cool, not just slightly different color shirts. It felt like it just came and went. Maybe that was Nintendo's fault for not really getting behind the esports potential of it. Here's hoping Splatoon 3 can be the big Nintendo multiplayer hit it deserves to be. I feel like some people it's always weird because I see his perception a lot, but this game sold over 10 million copies, Jeff. This game was a big hit.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, still could be good. Sorry.
No, yeah, it's hard to say when a game like sells that well to call it sort of underrated. Yeah, you're right.
Beefhammer says, I feel like most of the discussion around the Donkey Kong franchise revolves around Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong 64, and it leaves out my most underrated Nintendo game, Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. Revolved around one of the most specific peripherals ever made, but it was worth it because we got such a great game out of it. Unfortunately, this also means it's sort of ignored in a lot of discussion, which is a shame. It's a blast to play, especially with the bongos. Yeah, I mean, this game got a lot of praise when it came out, and people still kind of go back to it as something really unique and interesting. And like that team then got to make Mario Galaxy because they were so, kind of creative with that. So it has a legacy at least.
It's I definitely I love that game. I always love that game. Second it came out, I haven't played it since it came out, and so I'm like, I did find my bongos, and I have my my GameCube controller adapter, so I might plug it into a PC and do some crimes and play that game again.
Casual says, my underrated Nintendo game is Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap. The 2017 remake blends beautiful, uniquely drawn art that just bursts with personality with a wide range and warming soundtrack. The gameplay itself is fun, and the monster transformations mix it up nicely. I know it's not a Nintendo game per se, but feast your eyes on the official artwork. It leans into the fact that the Switch was where most people played it. I actually like this game a lot, and I also played in the Switch. It was like an early Switch game for me, and it's great. So the original Dragon's Trap is a really early Metroidvania style game, like originally coming out for stuff like the Master System and so forth. And this is one of those really, like, the remake stuff is fantastic. It looks great, but it's 1-to-1 with the old game. You could like push that button to switch the old graphics. I like the Dragon's Trap a lot, and I would certainly recommend it to anybody who likes retro games.
It's good. It's a good remake, a very good remake.
Jedi Moss 4 says, my underrated game on a Nintendo platform is Red Steel 2. This is one of the few Wii games that actually nails full motion controls with the Motion Plus accessory, allowing you to seamlessly use both guns and swords throughout gameplay. Both the shooting and sword fighting feel equally good. I love using a powerful swing of the sword to launch an opponent into the air and pulling out a shotgun to blast them right out of the air. The blend of cowboy, western, and Eastern samurai flavors is decent. It's one of the best feeling motion control games on this console and controls better than Metroid Prime and Skyward Sword on the same system, and is a truly underrated game because 5 people have played it and it will never be ported outside of the Wii console. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that Red Steel 2 is good, actually. I think a lot of people just skipped it because it's the sequel to Red Steel,
I think this is like a very good answer to this question. I think Red Steel 2 is a very good one because it's definitely one that most people, it's overlooked and it's underrated, I think. I think it was probably a lot better than most people even gave it credit for at the time.
And like, how would you play it now? It's like, it's actually unique. It's actually like, it's like that's actually kind of delivering on the original promise of the Wii, and it's working pretty well, and you really can't do that anymore. So it would be like, if you could go back to it, it would probably be very interesting.
Yeah, and Red Steel was one of those ones where it's like Ubisoft tried something and it sold well because it was there at launch, and so they gave it another chance, another real chance, and I'm glad they did because Red Steel 2 was pretty fun from what I played. I never played the whole thing, but it was fun.
Visualizer says, so apparently it's come to my attention over the last couple of episodes that I need to defend Majora's Mask as one of Nintendo's most underrated games. I love the entire atmosphere of the game as it takes such a different tone from previous Zelda games. The world of Termina is filled with a strong sense of unease, dread, death, loss, and impending doom. Sounds like a night at the Grubb house. But balances these themes with stories of friendship, love, and duty in the face of ultimate destruction. That sounds like a night at the Minotti house. Yes, the game was finished in about a year, and of course we used a lot of assets from Ocarina of Time. However, I actually consider that a strength, as the familiar faces we know from Ocarina of Time mixes and contrasts in such a good way with the air of mystery and out of placeness that we experience through Link. Plus, good dungeons, mass transformations are cool, clockwork time mechanics are cool, giant moon with angry face. Jeff, there's a time where this probably was a good answer, but then people really came back strongly on Majora's Mask, and now it's like come down a little bit where you do hear some of those dissenting voices again. I think Majora's Mask did get it to do there.
Yeah, it's definitely in the regular Zelda cycle of like up and down in terms of its standing with fans, and it recently had a resurgence. You're right. So it's but still I get it. There are some people who are out there again saying it's just a straight up bad game.
Jesse says the only correct answer is Gumshoe for most underrated Nintendo game. God, which one's Gumshoe?
I don't know.
Which one's Gumshoe? I feel like that's an NES something.
Yeah, it's yes, yeah, so it is. It's
Is it one of the blast light gun games?
Yeah, it's a light gun game. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I thought so. Reese Elliott says, Pokemon Stadium isn't remembered as fondly as it should be. Transferring my very own Pokemon from the Game Boy games onto the big screen is magical. Also, the mini games are better than Mario Party. I mean, Pokemon Stadium was really cool at the time, but that's because, like, wow, I can see Pokemon in 3D. And now I have, like, Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is, like, a full Pokemon game. Everything's in 3D and, like, real, like, it's cool at the time. I don't know how much I really want to go back and play the original Pokemon Stadium.
Right, yeah, for sure. What do you think the name is of the character from Gumshoe, the detective guy?
Is it not Gumshoe?
It's Mr. Stevenson.
Mr. Stevenson, I'll tell you what, wouldn't have guessed that.
Nope. I don't know. It really got me when I just read that.
Mr. Stevenson, the Gumshoe. All right. We say the character. Is that like who you're supposed to be? Or is that
I don't know. He's
shooting?
on the screen while you're shooting. I've never played this game. I should, but I at least look up gameplay. But he kind of looks like a pervert if you look at him. Like he looks like he might be.
I think everyone looks like a pervert.
Yeah, well, most people do. But if you look at him, you'll know what I mean.
Especially he has a trench coat and you're associating him with glasses, like slashers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't you?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not a disgusting, dirty old man like you.
Just saying, I wouldn't wear a trench coat outside. People might think
I have tasteful crushes on cartoon and video game characters.
That's right. You're a real man.
Yeah. Winnie, the most underrated game is Mortal Kombat for SNES because the lack of blood preserves the player's innocence. I played the bloody version on Genesis, and now I'm a sick degenerate living in a van down by the river, screaming about how Super Mario All-Stars should get more credit for developing the blueprint of a next-gen remaster. This is a funny answer.
That's a good one. Good one, Winnie.
Newfie Legit says the most underrated Nintendo game, in my opinion, is a super hot take. Oh, Donkey Kong 64, not 94, 64. I loved the game as a kid, but I have not played it in a very long time. It might be bad looking back on it now, but 10 years old me loved it. Jeff, I have people all the time who like, and I feel super stupid. They're like, I like Donkey Kong 64. And then I tell them, that's actually a bad game. That's what people think now. Like, who cares? But I need to tell them this. Like, actually, people don't like that game.
Yeah. Everyone thinks that game is trash. Yeah. It's, there's still a lot of people out here that do this, though. If you played it when you were 10 years old and it was like one of the games you got and you had all the time in the world, I could see somehow having a little bit of like Stockholm syndrome with the game a little bit. But yeah, it's not for me anymore.
No, it was never really too much for me. Azizzy says, my pick is Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City. Right. I loved looking at the cover art and playing that first level. I was trash at games then and trash now. Yeah, I liked looking at the cover for this game at the video rental store. I think that's all of my relationship with it. Turbo Sean says, I was going to make a crack about Metroid Zero Mission, perfecting the Metroid formula, and being ashamed that a bunch of old farts keep insisting that Super is the better game. But in all seriousness, the actual most underrated Nintendo game has to be Elite Beat Agents. Oh, Turbo Sean saving himself here. We all already gushed about how incredible it is in the DS episode, so I'll just add that all the people in the community who have tried it out after they're hacking their DSi and 3DSs, universally saying, this game is amazing. How did I miss it? Is evidence of what an overlooked gem it is. It is just so good. It's still probably my favorite music-based game ever. It's so much fun.
It should be like a part of the official Pantheon. Like the top tier pantheon of Nintendo games, and it's not. So maybe that's a good answer. Yeah.
T-Beaks15 says, most underrated Nintendo game. I am not afraid to admit that I love Donkey Kong 64. There's these people, Jeff. The too many collectibles argument has never made sense to me whatsoever. I could somewhat understand the backtracking as different characters for their respective collectibles could be somewhat cumbersome, but the worlds, especially at the start of the game, are so jolly and full of so many things to do that it never really bothered me. This game is oddly one of the most hated Nintendo games, and that bums me out because I don't just love it and have nostalgia for it, but I generally think it's a great game. I will say that like saying it's a bad game is probably ridiculous. I'm sure it's fine. I'm interested to play it again when it inevitably comes to
I don't enjoy playing it. Like that's where I'm at with the game. When I play it, I feel like I'm having a bad time for the most part. Like even when I'm like doing the things that like you would think would just be fun because this is from the game from the people who made Banjo and a follow up to Mario 64. Now we're getting Donkey Kong 64. Shouldn't this be great? And it just it missed. I think it was a bit slow and the jump didn't feel great. And
they kind of already started that problem with Banjo 2. I forget which one came out first, where like Banjo 2 just was bigger and actually made things worse. And like this game has the same thing, except now it's bigger and there's these 5 different characters. And sometimes you go to a place and it's like, oh, I need to be the other Kong. And I have to go back to this barrel and switch between the characters. And it's just kind of annoying.
Yes.
Badgie Buff says the most underrated Nintendo game is Golf Story. It's easy to forget any launch year Switch games that wasn't Breath of the Wild or Odyssey, but Golf Story deserves recognition for being an indie that carried the console between the tentpole releases. A simplistic, fun RPG with a lot of charm that had more depth to it than just golfing. For a good game, I think it gets its due though, Jeff.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I was just replaying it a few months ago and just loving it again. It's really good. Did Golf Story ever come to even Steam? I don't think so. That's wild. It's
weird how associated that is with Switch.
It's just on Switch, I think. That is nuts. That's really cool, actually. That's a great game, and it deserves all the success it got. But you're if you're saying like overlooked, I could see that. I can see that argument maybe a tiny bit.
Crangus McBasketball says the most underrated Nintendo game is easily Super Mario Sunshine. The game has a rough difficulty curve for sure, but it's just a lot of fun. And Flood is just a neat way to navigate the world. Bowser's voice has a lot to Bowser's voice left a lot to be desired, though. Yeah, Jeff, I told you I kind of whiplashed a little bit on Super Mario Sunshine. I was once one of its loudest defenders, but then playing it sandwiched in between Mario 64 and Galaxy with the All-Stars collection, I was like, yeah, I kind of get the negativity. I still like it a lot. I've played through it multiple times, and I'm sure I will again. But I get some of the points of contention.
Me too.
Jeremy G says the most underrated Nintendo game is Fire Emblem 7, The Blazing Blade. The first one released stateside. So this is the one that we just knew as Fire Emblem on Game Boy Advance. Everyone has brought their attention to the new waifus and dictator mommies of recent entries, but no one cares about the superior levels and characters Fire Emblem 7 has anymore. Waifus are temporary, but Fire Emblem 7 is eternal. Isn't this the one with the girl with the green hair and the blue dress?
I mean, green hair is about all I remember, Mike, but I think so, yes.
Yeah, and everyone likes her. I don't think she's a dictator, but she's she's probably.
But she is a mommy. Yeah.
I don't even know she's a mommy. She might not be a dictator or a mommy, but she's waifu at least. I don't know. Yeah. Revan says StarCraft 64, so he's staying on brand here. I can't even tell if he actually does like that game anymore. If it's just all a joke.
I mean, that game existing is a little bit of a joke, but I still like that it exists.
I mean, I don't mind that it exists. Pinball Jr. says Drill Dozer and the sequel with HD Rumble or DualSense style Rumble would be amazing. I associate Drill Dozer. No, I get Drill Dozer mixed up with Mr. Drill a lot. Right. Yeah. Drill Dozer was a Game Freak joint.
A Game Freak game. Advance. It is so good. And now I'm realizing we might get through this without getting Game Freak's other big, like, overlooked game that should be on this list. But I'll mention it at the end if we don't get it from like Super Chat or something. Drill Dozer is awesome. That's just a good
answer.
It was it had like a rumble pack built into its cart for Game Boy Advance, so when you were drilling through the wall you could feel it. But it was just a really satisfying game with a really good mechanic.
Would that cart work on the Analog Pocket? Fine.
Yes, it should.
But I'm on the lookout for it. Nintendo Bro says my most underrated Nintendo game is Uniracers. Too bad Pixar was too butthurt to let us ever have a sequel. I had Uniracers and I loved that game.
Me too.
It's also a hard game to emulate for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think there's like a lot of like Super FX2 stuff happening in that game. The thing I always remember about Uniracers, and I think I probably mention this every time it comes up, is you would go faster by doing tricks in the air because the person that made the game said that planes go faster than cars, so it just makes sense. I'm like, well, it's not why. Just because they're in the whatever. Okay, fine. Yeah, it's a fun game. It's a fun game.
When you're in the air, you go faster.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I always just jump when I'm running. Yeah. That's why skipping is so fast.
Exactly. I do like video games where you like there is something weird. Like if you jump, you kind of go faster, so you just find yourself like doing weird jump things everywhere. Gerber Bear says, I know you won't agree with this, but I think the most underrated Nintendo game is Phantom Hourglass. It seems like people's opinion of the game gets lower every year as people fixate on their low points. Controlling the stylus works way better than you think it possibly could, even for a lefty like me. Rerunning the Temple of the Ocean King gets brought up as a constant negative, but I enjoy how you feel more powerful each time you revisited that area. Yeah, Jeff, I'm not a big fan of the DS Zelda games. Part of me wants to go back to them just because, like, aside from Four Swords Adventures on GameCube, they're the only two I haven't actually beaten. So it's like I may as well go and like do that at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, for some reason, I've like Phantom Hourglass. It's just like even like the name. I'm like something sounds like why does that sound wrong to me? But yeah, I guess
that's the name of the game.
It is really the name of the game.
Phantom Hourglass and there's Spirit Tracks.
Spirit Tracks. I mean, I know people have like come back around Spirit Tracks. Phantom Hourglass's like structure just didn't work for me. Going to that dungeon deeper and deeper each time, I just wasn't a big fan of it.
I bet you liked Linebeck though. You seem like a Linebeck kind of guy.
Linebeck? I don't know what that is. What is that?
Guy, like the old like captain guy. Yes. Your friend.
Absolutely.
Apparently not.
The characters are very good.
You're not a big fan of him. You don't even know what I'm talking about.
I thought you were going to be like, Linebeck these nuts. I'm like, that doesn't make sense, Mike.
No, this is a real person.
Okay.
Well, not a real person. A video game person, but still. Napper says the most underrated game is Star Fox Adventures. The graphics still look beautiful today, and dinosaurs rule. I do like dinosaurs. I'll say that after I played Star Fox Assault on the GameCube during the GameCube stream I did a while ago, I was surprised how much I was enjoying that after like just assuming it wasn't good for a long time. So Star Fox Adventures, I'm not quite so sure about. I think Assault might be a better answer. I don't know. Maybe someday I'll try Adventures again. Maybe.
It does look real nice. It is a very good looking game.
Screaming Madden says, I was going to say F-Zero GX, but it seems like that game has earned a reputation of being one of the greatest racing games ever, despite not selling well. I'll instead say Tetris DS. It was a great version of Tetris with an NES coat of paint that had lots of neat modes, such as the Metroid-themed catch mode, where you control a central rotating block to catch falling pieces to form a 4x4 block that explodes. Yeah, Tetris DS was great. And I think it just is kind of forgotten because it's an older Tetris now, but it was fantastic.
It's an older one that isn't, Tetris for the Game Boy or Tetris for NES, which are like the two ones that everyone go back to as like the Tetris games. But it does deserve to be up there, I think. Tetris DS was fantastic at the time. It was one of those games that like came along and everyone just got and played online even.
Giggy64 says, there's not enough love out there for the Cyber Stadium series Base Wars on the NES.
That's a good answer.
Baseball with robots would be more of a hit, but sadly it seems to be forgotten. Yeah, I never played this one.
Bad news. So good.
Bad News Baseball was my NES baseball game as a kid.
I never played that one.
That one's great.
Hang on, I'll be over there in a second, kiddo. This Base Wars game, I go back and play that all the time. It's one of those ones I have no idea how I got so many of my games back then, but it was like one that just ended up in my collection, and I would just play it regularly every couple of months, and it was it's just cool to have like a big cyborg out there with a cannon arm that's a pitcher and just shooting baseballs, and like the whole idea of it was just so good.
Jeff, that is it for the answers from our community. We've gotten some super chats come in. Would you like to present those?
I do indeed.
Maybe we'll get ready for Yacht Club Presents. I don't know. Should we just keep going through that? Do you want to just bring it up here when it happens?
I will have to go pick up Emmy at like 15 minutes after the hour, but we can go for a little bit. Let's see here. I've got some answers from the chat. Let me see where we left off. We didn't get this one. Okay, so I think Uriel Delgado actually kicked these off. Underrated game is Deadly Premonition Origins. I think that game is like... I don't know. It's kind of hard to say like what the rating is on that one because people, it feels like it has gotten its due many times over now. Deadly Premonition.
This was like the kind of meme game, right? Like the F in my soup or whatever it was, or
it's like everything, and it's like people like it's like so bad that it's good, but a video game version of that, and it really nails it, and looks like legitimately interesting things happening in the story, and people really like Deadly Premonition. From Zombie Porian. Wario Land Shake It for me is their most underrated Nintendo game. I just played it last year on the Wii U, and the graphics still hold up.
Jeff, I'm really interested to play this one again, especially after playing through Wario Land 3 recently and really liking that one. Like, that might even be an answer. Like, who talks about Wario Land 3 specifically? And I thought it was fantastic. So, I really want to play Wario Land Shake It. I want to find a way to get that happening because that game has like these gorgeous actually 2D animated sections. Even has anime like intro and outro things. It looks like so much better than what they usually would do for 2D games these days. So I'm really impressed by it now, and I really want to check that out at some point. That's a pretty good answer.
Yes. From Good Morning Games, most underrated Nintendo game is Mario Golf for N64. It was just flat out fun, and the transfer pack stuff with the Game Boy Color Mario Kart or Mario Golf was so cool at the time.
Gosh, I can't remember the 64 one that well. When I think of Mario Golf, I'm almost always thinking about the Game Boy Advance game.
From Bare Chested Bandit, maybe more accurately an underappreciated game, but Ogre Battle 64. The unit and party management is something I've never seen updated or iterated on, and it's such a wonderful set of systems.
Yeah, I've heard good things about this. I mean,
I always meant to play it, and I never did.
Yeah. Right? You don't have many. Yeah, so it's like well, I'd rather play this than Quest 64, I guess, right?
Yes, definitely, absolutely. It's identical. Says don't care plus L plus ratio, and then they say JK, keep up the streams. P.S. Arby's was nice, so I'm glad you got yourself some Arby's. Radu Pericol Tiganas. Maybe I should just get on your Patreon at this point. And then says, anyway, underrated titles. Wade Hingston's Counterpunch and Donkey Kong 94 is #1 most underrated.
Donkey Kong 94 is amazing.
Yeah, I never played Wade Hingston's Counterpunch. I don't think. Maybe I feel like I tried a bunch of punching games or about punching games, Mike. That's what those are called.
Punching games. That's a genre.
Yeah.
As you saw my mom. Are you playing those punching games again?
You kids playing those punching games. And then It's Identical came back with the response. Underrated is Punch Out, the very first Souls-like game. In my opinion, Punch Out can never be properly rated enough because it's so fantastic.
It's pretty highly rated. I don't know.
And yet not rated highly enough somehow.
It's pretty highly rated.
From Cameron Rains, most underrated game on the Wii, Astro Boy the video game. And then not really, but I was producer on it and want to shout it out. YOLO, I'm dumb. Haha. Cameron Rains, that's fine. Definitely shout it out.
You know, there's that Game Boy Advance one that was made by...
It's very good.
Made by Treasure, I think, yes, right? Or something. It's supposed to be very good, yeah.
Yes, that game owns. I never played the Wii U one, though. I'll give it a shot for Cameron Rains. And then Radu Pericol Tagana says, forgot Ghost Trick, maybe more overlooked.
Ghost Trick's fantastic. Ghost Trick's amazing. Yeah. Oh God, I love Ghost Trick. That's another one of my favorite DS games are probably Ghost Trick would be #2 after Elite Beat Agents. Ghost Trick's fantastic. Jeff would probably even like Ghost Trick.
Mike, can you, I don't know, this is probably just someone in chat just messing around, but it says, breaking news, Nintendo purchases Mercury Steam. Nobody expected the Spanish acquisition. That's probably just a joke, right?
It might be a joke. I'll check.
Yeah,
I'll make sure.
Why not? But it's still a good joke regardless. I like it a lot. All right, but that does it for the super chats. I am all caught up. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, I was going to Reddit. Is Reddit down? No. Did you play anything else besides for Pokemon? Because that's basically all I was doing.
Wait, I feel like we got some new ones in. Okay, actually, J Stud McLovin, Beetle Adventure Racing scored very well, so I'm kind of cheating, but it's so overlooked and still my favorite racing game of all time. That's a very good answer. And then Chris says, Zelda 2, the black sheep of the Zelda series. People say it's too obtuse, but so was the first game. I love the RPG elements and the palace theme slaps. Both those are very good answers.
I like Zelda 2 a lot when I finally played it just recently, and I think it's been getting a bit of its due. Jeff, I do not think Nintendo's bought Mercury's TV.
Me neither. It was just a Spanish acquisition joke, which is very good.
It's a good joke.
Yes. All right. Yeah, I haven't played much except for Pokemon. So yeah, I'm right there with you, Mike.
Yeah, me neither. So I guess the episode here is done. We are next week going to talk about the most controversial Nintendo game, whatever you think of that means. So that's what I want you to tell me about tomorrow. What you think is next week, what you think is the most controversial Nintendo game.
I like that. That's cool. Yeah, and that could be games that some people hate, some people love. I don't know. I feel like I have some good answers there.
Like Donkey Kong 64 is a good answer based off of this week. I'll tell you what. All right.
Mike, I'm going to say real quick, I think this Friday after Games Beat Decides, I think I'm going to stream Pokemon for 12 hours to raise money for my wife's cousin's daughter who has leukemia. She's named Eevee after the Pokemon, and I'm going to be streaming, and we're gonna set up a GoFundMe and make sure that's all ready to go. But those are the early plans. So if people want to tune in after Games Beat Decides, come hang out with me on twitch.tv/JeffGrubb. Help me raise some money for Eevee. I'm looking forward to it. Mike, anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I'll be back on Friday.
Bye, everybody. Hey, chat. We're gonna come right back online, and we're just gonna watch the beginning of this thing with you all real quick. I'll be right back.